Hi, everybody. Jeff Wise back here with you with the latest on what the heck is going on with the seabed search for MH370. You know, we spend so much time reading the tea leaves, as I like to say, about what's going on with Ocean Infinity and the seabed search. It's really refreshing when people with inside knowledge finally say something concrete. And today we have that. Malaysia's transport minister finally just said it out loud at a press conference on Wednesday, April 2nd.
Yes, the agreement has been signed. The agreement has been signed last week.
So they have the very high technology.
I think right now it's not the season. I think they have stopped the operation for the time being. They will resume the search at the end of this year.
Okay, very laconic, just a few brief words, but there's a lot of information in there. Really, two big pieces of news, what you might call the good news and the bad news. The good news first, Ocean Infinity now has a signed contract with the Malaysian government. It was signed last week. That means that there is now a firm contractual basis for the search. This has been a long time coming. There's been a lot of concern and swirling rumors that are now laid to rest. I'll talk about more about that in a minute. Okay, now for the bad news, the search will be suspended until the end of the year. Why? What does that mean? What is the end of the year? So we have some answers, but as usual, we also have even more questions. As you know, as I've often complained about, this low information environment that we're in, where neither Ocean Infinity nor the Malaysian government is very forthcoming with information, it gives rise to a situation where there's a lot of rumors swirling around. Some are based on misunderstanding, others on deliberate misinformation. So it's really important to weigh where the information is coming from and try to separate the wheat from the chaff. Well, when it comes to the seabed search for MH370, the gold standard has really been Kevin Rupp and his team at the Ocean Infinity News and Updates page on Facebook. Kevin is a very private person. He doesn't like to be interviewed, but he agreed to answer some questions by email about what's been going on this week. And he's given me some very enlightening answers, which I will share with you right now. Okay, let me explain who Kevin Rupp is real quick. He's a private person, just a normal person who got interested in the MH370 story when it first happened. And then when the first seabed search happened, the one overseen by the Australian government, he followed the ship tracking data that was posted by other people online. And then when Ocean Infinity launched its first search in 2018, a friend recommended to him that he try a service called Big Ocean Data. He did. As Kevin put it in the email to me, he said, during that search, there was more interest in the story, and I became one of the sources people could go to that didn't editorialize a lot. We just put up the track without filling it with a lot of theories and stuff. Big Ocean Data noticed, and we formed a good relationship. I still pay for my sub, but we get lots of extras and help when we need it. Now, Kevin has been getting help from a team of volunteers. He's been getting advice from the independent group, among others. He says, quote, because we are straight shooters, sources tend to seek us out. I was getting a lot of inside information during the 2018 surge. Mostly they want correct information to get out instead of what people tend to make up. This time is no different, end quote. And I'll say that one of the things that makes Kevin's information really useful, from my perspective, is that he has very little ego. And he draws a clear line between what he actually knows and what he's just surmising. And so time and time again, what he said has later turned out to be accurate. I mean, that's what trust is, right? Your performance over time really lends you credibility that you can bank on. And so Kevin Rupp, as I say, I've said time and time again, he is a reliable source based on experience. Okay, so I don't have myself inside information directly to Ocean Infinity. Kevin is the next best thing because he has sources there. We don't exactly know what those are. He has, that's his personal information. He's protecting his sources. Okay, respect. But let's go through what Kevin is telling me. So this is the conversation I had with Kevin. To start, I wanted to address speculation as to whether Ocean Infinity might have seen something during its search, but just not reported it yet. Kevin wrote, quote, I'm hearing that they are very pleased with the quality of the data that they're getting, but nothing has been found yet. They have only done an initial review of the data, so it's early in the process. They probably would have seen the debris during the initial review, though. Next, I asked if he could clarify some confusion about the long delay in the signing of the contract between Ocean Infinity and the Malaysian government. As you know, they've been talking about it for over a year, saying that both sides have said that they want to do it. Both sides were, making all of these sunny, optimistic noises, but we never heard that they were actually signing the contract until just now. And the sort of follow-up to that is whether that delay had hampered the seabed search. In fact, a group of family members of missing passengers called Voice MH370 put out an image on April 2nd that said, quote, whilst OI arrived at the proposed search zone earlier, they were able to officially commence their search only on 25/3/2025 after the contract was signed, namely March 25th, 2025. That seemed to imply that while Armada 7806 was out in the search area doing its zigzag patterns, it wasn't actually searching, which I personally found a little hard to believe. Kevin wrote, quote, Armada 7806 had permission to start the search before the contract was signed. Nothing was really stopping them, but by getting permission, they were assured of getting paid if they found it. I find the families to be a bit disorganized and maybe something is lost in translation, end quote. Okay. I had sort of surmised something similar. The next question is actually one that came from one of the viewers who asked in a comment. U.S. veteran 9893 wrote, what I don't understand is why Ocean Infinity is using a smaller ship to search than they previously used. The smaller ship is limited to how many sonar drones it can deploy. Just curious, end quote. So I've talked in earlier episodes about how Armada 7806, while it's very state of the art, it's the highest level of technology, but it's fairly small. It can only deploy 3 AUVs at a time compared to the 8 that were used in the 2018 search. So it's searching relatively slowly. Kevin's response was this. He said, quote, yes, they want to bring in a bigger vessel. 7806 was bouncing a lot, and AUV recovery can be dicey when the ship and AUV are pitching. What the ship will be is unknown at this time. There's talk of a new 86-meter boat, but that's not a lot better than what they have. I really hope they bring over Island Pride from the Atlantic. And this is a boat I've mentioned before. Kevin says up to 8 AUVs, 2 6,000-meter ROVs, and 3 cranes, including a 40-ton, 6,000-meter heave-compensated salvage crane. Island Pride would allow them to do recovery operations if they find the wreck. The Armada boats won't. Okay, another major question I had for Kevin is when the search might start again. Loke said end of the year. Kevin had said on social media that he expected the search would start in November. I asked him about that. He wrote, when I said November, it was just a guess based on when the weather will clear. No real word on when they will actually start. So as far as the weather goes, I want to note that the weather right now does not preclude further searching. Yes, autumn has begun and winter is on its way, but in 2018, the search continued through May. This brings us back to a statement from the relatives' families, which said, quote, due to seasonal weather changes and unavoidable prior commercial commitments, OI, Ocean Infinity, suspended their search on 28 of 03/25 and shall resume the search during the next summer in the Southern Hemisphere, end quote. Okay, the key words here, to my mind, are unavoidable prior commercial commitments, meaning they needed to have the equipment somewhere else. The ship had to go do other work. It was already booked to do other work. So they couldn't stick around. They couldn't do another month-long tour of duty. They had to go somewhere else. Okay. My last question was about what Ocean Infinity's ultimate plan is. It seems that so far they've been sticking pretty closely to the analysis laid out by Victor Iannello, but are they planning to go beyond that? And in particular, do they give any credence to Richard Godfrey's whisper idea? Will they wind up checking there? This is what Kevin had to say, quote, I have no knowledge of OI's plan, but my hunch, and that's all it is that they don't care about anybody's theory. I think they're going by the satellite data, the drift analysis, debris photos, etc. They're going to block out the entire 15,000 to 25,000 square kilometers and be absolutely sure when they're done that the wreckage is not there. He added, I was told that they have no faith in Godfrey or Whisper, but I don't know if that's true. That's the first I had heard of 25,000 square kilometers. I'd only heard Malaysia talk about 15,000 square kilometers. But as I've often said before, I wouldn't be at all surprised if the mission winds up getting bigger. Okay, that's all I have for you today. As always, if you'd like a free email that goes out with each episode, you can subscribe at findingmh370.com. If you'd like to support the podcast, there are paid subscriptions too. I'm always grateful for that. Thank you to everyone who's been chipping in. Really grateful to you. While the search is on hold, I'll be continuing to explore the many fascinating aspects of this case. So stay tuned. Until then, this is Jeff Wise. See you next time.